What's going on, guys? Hey, we are back and we have a very spicy video. This is going to be extremely controversial. I'm telling you already. This is a guy that I've been following for a while. He goes by Heavy Duty Country. He's got a massive following. I would consider him to be your more conservative, probably Southern American, similar to myself in that sense. But there are some things in recent weeks that I have very much disagreed with him about, which is interesting because a lot of the topics I agree with him on. So we're going to watch this. Again, this is going to be controversial. It has to do with Israel, the Jews, I believe probably Iran or Iran. We're going to cover this. Get ready to start commenting some crazy stuff because we're going to scrap about it in the comments, all right? But, respectfully, of course. Also, I wanted to take this chance, if for whatever reason, my small channel is able to reach Mr. Heavy Duty Country, I would love to invite him here to Ukraine, where I am, the place where I have served in the military, fought in the trenches, and I would love to show him around. That's it. His take on Ukraine is very different than mine, obviously, but I used to have a similar take. His take was, America first. Why are we sending money to Ukraine? We should be spending it in the U.S. Of course, that's the age-old argument, right? But the truth is, even if the United States was not sending any money to Ukraine or Israel, they still wouldn't be spending it on the stuff that he wants. That's the truth. At the same time, two things can happen at the same time. You can support a nation that is being invaded illegally by Russia, and you can take care of homeless veterans, for example, or take care of people who need help or help the economy so people can pay less, or help with housing and drop interest rates. Two things can happen at once, right? These are not mutually exclusive ideas to where, well, if you help Ukraine, that means America goes to shit. No, that's not how it works. So anyways, let's watch this, you guys. It's going to be crazy. But regardless, I do respect what he does, and I'm not gonna hate this guy because we have difference of opinions on things, right? So let's go.
With the country on the screen. Folks, what are we going to do with the country on the screen? Isn't it great? I still can't say it. I don't know when they're going to allow me to, but I've been shadow banned for a while, and I think we're out of it. I don't know for sure. But what are we going to do with this country? I know what we need to do. We need to just cut them off. We need to just cut them off. But I kind of want to go through more of what they're doing now because it's getting worse, folks. So here is Netanyahu saying they're upset and he is sick and tired of his people being accused of drinking the blood of children. Folks, let me give everybody a very, very, very important piece to communication and psychology, because a lot of people don't understand this. And I am not an expert by any means, but I've taken the time to really, really study it for my own life, my own interactions, and my personal life. And I will tell you this. Someone who is getting extremely mad at something that you are bringing up to them or accusing them of, they are most likely guilty of it. If you can't have a conversation about something, or if you can't go up to Netanyahu and say, hey, man, what's the deal with all your people drinking blood, sacrificing children? A normal person who has nothing to hide and who thinks that's outrageous is probably going to laugh and be like, what are you talking about? Are you nuts? But a guilty person or a person who is not versed in psychology or how things come off is going to get very angry. Let's look at Netanyahu.
And let me tell you how anti-Semitism works down the...
Oh, thank you.
Ever since we lost our country, became defenseless. We were defenseless not only against physical attack, but against the vilifications that often and always preceded. We were faced in one country with such vilifications, and that led eventually either one of two things, either exile or massacre. And then we went to another country, and we faced exactly the same thing. After the vituperation, vilification, that we're poisoning the wells, that we drink blood of slain children, that we carry vermin. And by the way, these are the exact lies that continue right
vermin.
after.
Okay, so I'm going to try to explain this for everybody because I think people really need to understand this. When people call these things out about the political state of the country on the screen, and then also the religion related to it. It's not crap. When I tell you that in their core book, their core doctrine as far as their law goes, called the Talmud, when it says that Jesus is burning in hell in human shit, that's not a lie. It's in there. When it says that everyone who is not of this religion are goy, or goyim, cattle, deserve to die, that's not crap. It's not crap. That is real. So when they're wondering why they've been kicked out of 109 countries, it's very simple, okay? If you come to my house for dinner, I invite you, and I'm sitting in, let's say having a conversation with my wife while she's preparing dinner for everybody. Everybody's in the living room having drinks. And I overhear one of them say, "We're only here for the food. We think all these people should be dead." What do you think I'm doing? Do you think I'm saying, "Oh no, it's cool, man. That's just a part of their religion. Still eat, drink, sit on my couch, use my toilets, hold hands as we pray to a God that you fucking hate"? Do you think I'm going to ignore that? Honestly, that goes against all human nature. You're lucky if I don't pull a gun out at that point. But they package it as, "Oh, you're just mean to us and we're victims." You're not. So here he is, pretty much threatening America.
I say to you in front of these vilifications, do not cower. Do not bend. Do not bow your head. Fight back, because people respect those who respect themselves. And the minorities that fought back, whether it's the blacks or the gays or women, they fought back. And what we have to do as Jews, both here in Israel,
why are you bringing the gays into this, man?
Around the world, beginning with the United States, is to fight back. Silent.
Yeah, don't like the Mr. Netanyahu, or as Heavy Duties calls him, the Yahoo. Don't like that he put Jews in the same kind of, in that with the gays. That's just a strange comparison. I'm not sure why he would do that either.
This will not help. Looking askance will not help. Fight back.
So folks, weak leaders create hard times. This is the worst advice he can give to anyone. Let me explain why. If someone doesn't like you, the best reaction you can have in life is to be unfazed by it. You don't like me? Great. You have a problem with me? You don't like me? You think I'm an asshole? Whatever it is, dude, great. Great. Have a great day. Hopefully you can find someone who you like in life. We only live one of them. No matter what you do in life, there is always going to be somebody that doesn't like you. Unfortunately, these people do not understand that. So him saying people who hate you, people who don't like you, people who are saying bad things about you, fight back. Don't stay silent. That is the worst advice. Worst advice he can give. You know why? Because it makes it a topic of conversation. It's honestly really simple, folks. There's something to be said about being unbothered by people who don't fucking like you. If these people were unbothered, stop playing the victim, stop playing the whole, "Oh, you have to like us," most people who truly don't understand it, who are just kind of jumping on the bandwagon right now, they'd be like, "Okay, it's no longer a topic. We don't have to talk about it anymore." But that's the thing though, folks. I think they like it. I think they like being the victim. I think they like being talked about. I think they like the hate, because then...
All right, let me jump in and address a couple things that I think here that will continue. I generally agree with what he's saying, especially when it comes to more trivial or surface level accusations, things like, internet trolls, or we get a lot of those Russian trolls here. You just kind of brush it off because it's whatever, it's beneath you, right? So in that sense, I definitely agree with that. But there's a line at some point when it becomes dangerous. And if these accusations get into that danger territory, they need to be addressed and you need to fight back. So using this philosophy of just don't address it is like the Jews not addressing the fact that Nazis hated them and then they just got rounded up in camps and killed. Having that philosophy of like, I don't care what you think, and then they stuff them into a gas chamber, that's not going to save them from the gas, right? So there's a line that isn't mentioned here, and it may be hard to decipher exactly where that line is, but there's a line that once that gets crossed, you need to defend yourself, you need to stand up for yourself, you need to address the accusations. Okay, you can't just always be hands off and it's not, not my problem. It has nothing to do with me, or I don't care about it, whatever. And then before you know it, you're getting round up in camps. I don't, for example, in my example with the Holocaust and Nazis.
They can sit there and say, Iran has had a nuclear weapon for 30 years. We must attack. And then everyone around them. We're not stupid. And then we've got the Israeli, isn't that funny? I can say Israeli, but not the actual country's name. Very weird, folks. We're in a weird time. The Israeli National Security Minister Ben Gvir, or Gavir, I don't know how to, you guys know I'm great with names. JD Vance asked me, what's your solution? I told him, my solution is to do to today's Nazis what you did to the Nazis. Hezbollah are Nazis.
ארצות הברית. כן, הוא גם יותר מזה, הוא אמר, מה הפתרון שלך? אמרתי לו, הפתרון שלי זה לעשות את מה שעשיתם לנאצים אז, לעשות לנאצים היום. מה זה הפתרון שלי? חיזבאללה זה נאצים? אתם לא הייתם מאפשרים לארגון כזה להיות על הגבול שלכם, אתם לא הייתם מאפשרים שלא תהיה לכם חופש פעולה מול ארגון כזה, וזה מה שאני רוצה מהנשיא ונץ, ואתה יודע מה, שלא ייפגע.
All right, so we don't want to listen to that. Israel is one of the most guarded countries on earth. There is an argument for they are more guarded than us because they have us up their ass for some unfortunate reason. We shouldn't be, but we have been for the past who the fuck knows how many years since the state was created. But their whole thing has been preemptive self-defense, okay? So I'm gonna use me as an example. During the Carmelo Anthony thing, I got probably over 100 death threats, mainly from Instagram. And if y'all don't follow me, I'm gonna put it on the screen here. I'm posting content constantly. And if there are people out there who wanna give me more death threats, you go right ahead. I don't give a fuck. That being said, if I was like Israel, what I would be doing is I would be going and finding out all of the information about these people and going to their house and confronting them. Instead of being like, people can say what they want. People probably misunderstand me. People probably have no accountability on the Carmelo Anthony situation. So that's why they're upset at me. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be alert. And if one of them shows up at my house, they're going to be dead before they get halfway down my driveway. That's it. And just so everybody knows, I feel like it's pretty obvious, but I don't live in a residential neighborhood. If you're halfway down my driveway, you're here for a problem. You're not here to deliver mail. And then we got JD Vance. Oh boy, he is not happy.
What the president has grown frustrated sometimes is that we seem to be right on the cusp of a major breakthrough in the agreement.
So hold on, I want to address that too. Again, I agree to an extent that you don't want to cause any necessary problems. You don't want to cause any unnecessary death in general in any situation. The idea of being just prepared and being extremely dangerous in the event that you need to be dangerous, I think is the idea that I subscribe to generally. But I believe, again, and this is my opinion, I believe that Israel took this stance more or less with the exception of some scraps between different Iranian proxies and Israel throughout the years. I believe Israel was taking that stance for the better part of the last couple of decades until October 7th happened, and then they respond. So when you're just alert, it's not always good enough to prevent everything that could happen. And Israel being alert didn't stop thousands of people getting raped, killed, murdered in their country, right? So again, there's a line there. But then Israel attacked. They went on the offensive. They became aggressive. And yes, civilians died, and it's a terrible thing. You see it here in Ukraine all the time. Unfortunately, terrorists, spineless, cowardly terrorists like Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, the Taliban, you name it, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, these groups like to hide behind the civilian populations of their region to use them as leverage, to use the civilians as leverage against the country that is trying to eliminate them. So a lot of civilians died during the Israel's invasion into Gaza after they were invaded on October 7th. Was it, excuse me, too much? Did Israel go too far? You be the judge of that, okay? We could break down the metrics and the statistics of how many civilians were killed to in ratio with how many terrorists and all that stuff, okay? I don't necessarily argue about that. What I argue about is being upset with Israel because the terrorists are hiding behind civilians. That's what I disagree with. I think that is completely misguided anger, misguided disappointment or anger when it should be focused on the bad guys who are using civilians as human shields.
And then all of a sudden, there's a major explosion that goes off in a civilian population center in Beirut, and a lot of people who have nothing to do with Hezbollah lose their lives. That's not acceptable. That's the sort of thing that we've asked for closer coordination so that we ensure it doesn't happen. And our message to the Israelis, just as our message to everybody else, is fundamentally, we want this peace process to be good for you. We do not want Hezbollah attacking Israel, but in order to ensure that that happens, we have got to actually build the kind of regional framework that can cut off the money to Hezbollah, cut off Iranian support for Hezbollah, and also ensure that Lebanon's territorial sovereignty is respected.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of gets screwed up when they're just slaughtering people in Lebanon. And then, folks, who do we...
Okay, so let's talk about that. Lebanon is, from my understanding, a beautiful country, and the Lebanese people are, again, from my understanding, great people. Never been there, don't know many personally. What I do know is Hezbollah pretty much runs most aspects of the Lebanese government. Hezbollah is a terrorist group responsible of not only thousands of Israeli deaths, but also thousands of American deaths. So when J.D. Vance gets up on stage and makes this claim that he doesn't like to see when Hezbollah launches ballistic missiles into Israel and they land on the outskirts of Israel and don't really hurt anybody in that one specific instance, then Israel countered with their own ballistic missile, but then killed who they were aiming at. Okay, to me that is saying that whole comparison is ridiculous, because you're saying just because Hezbollah is bad at aiming their missiles, Israel should give them a break and also be bad at aiming their missiles too, and also shoot them somewhere where they won't kill the enemy. That doesn't make any sense. Just because Hezbollah sucks at aiming their missiles and attacking doesn't mean Israel has to counter with the same shit strategy. No, Israel's better. They're more accurate. So they aimed and they destroyed their target that they were aiming at, because Hezbollah, that was Hezbollah's intention. It's not like Hezbollah's intention was to shoot these on the outskirts and just scare Israel. No, they're terrorists. They were shooting missiles into Israel to kill Israelis. So Israelis shot missiles to kill terrorists in Hezbollah.
We have to end the show, our favorite dude. Man, I got to tell you, folks, I'm not happy to see anybody's downfall. If people don't like me, if I don't like them, I still want everybody to succeed, just not with me. It's a very good way to think about stuff on people that you don't like. You don't want them falling in the dirt. You just want them succeeding, just not at your table. But this guy, he's sitting here and buying views for his show on YouTube, which is, why are you even doing it, man? Why are you even doing your show anymore if you're having to buy views? That means that people don't want to watch your show. I mean, the comment sections, folks, on his shows are the funniest thing ever. Anyways, this is what he had to say about this entire situation with J.D. Vance, and it is wild.
He says denuclearizing, which would mean no nuclear program. And instead, he corrects himself to say no nuclear weapon, which means they will retain a nuclear program. Again, that was not what these talks were started to do. By the way, so this is going all over the Twitter sphere this morning, is this idea that this is a magical, whoa, Iran is going to allow the IAEA back in. So first of all, we should point out, Iran allowing the IAEA back in so that they can have coordinated visits is Iran giving people the runaround. Iran saying, sure, come on in. We'll allow you to look at the things we allow you to look at, and then we won't allow you to look at the things we don't allow you to look at. And also, we'll rebuild our ballistic missiles, which are not part of the negotiations, and we'll rebuild our terror support, which is not part of the negotiations. And yeah, we'll keep tolling this frame.
I don't typically agree with everything Ben Shapiro says, but I think he's 100% accurate with that. Iran has been consistently, about 100% of the time, bad actors and bad faith negotiators throughout the last 50 years. Why the hell would we now all of a sudden believe they're going to be cool with the IAEA or whatever coming in, who in previous years have been influenced by the Iranian government, have been persuaded, have been biased on the Iranian government's side? Why in the hell would we all of a sudden think, oh, okay, that'll stop them from making a nuke? That's delusional.
of Hormuz. Like, what are we even doing here? What are we even doing here? The idea that
And I also see on both sides of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans largely agreeing with that sentiment, that Iran is still going to continue being bad actors. Just because we have this international organization that hasn't done much of anything, go in there and check on them, doesn't mean they're going to stop.
some sort of win has been achieved here is unbelievably silly. Not only has it not been achieved in these negotiations, the vice president looked extraordinarily weak. The optics were here's I saved this one for last because it actually is pretty infuriating. This is a picture. It was released by the Qataris, not by the Americans.
It's hard to listen
by
to
the
this
Qataris.
fuck.
It is the vice president on a computer being corrected in his typing, telling
Ben, why don't you just tell everybody what's going on, man? You have an allegiance to the country on the screen and not the United States. That's why everybody is shitting on you on your YouTube comments. That's why people...
And that could very well be the truth. I've seen Ben Shapiro take the side of Israel over the U.S. a couple different times. That could very well be true. That doesn't change the fact that what he just said was absolutely the facts.
People don't watch your show anymore. That's why you have to buy views for your show. That's why you had to lay off 30% of your whole company.
So then attacking Ben Shapiro and his show personally, that's heavy duty country's prerogative. To me, it's more about the bigger issues, right? And we're talking about Israel, we're talking about Iran. Don't care as much about Shapiro personally.
So maybe what you could do, and this is something that I believe with my entire heart, it is better to be honest and hated than it is to be fake and liked for a little bit, but then exposed and completely written off. That's what's happening to Ben Shapiro right now. He sold himself as this big American conservative guy. And there have been signs here and here. A lot of people fell for it, but now it is extremely obvious that this dude's pure loyalty is to the country on the screen. And we don't want anything to fucking do with it, man. We don't want anything to do with it. Maybe what you could do.
All right, so we'll I want to address that last part there, and then we'll wrap it up. But something I've noticed with this channel, Heavy Duty Country, again, there's a lot of stuff I agree with that he talks about. In fact, most, with the exception of his foreign policy outlook when it comes to different wars happening globally, different social economic issues, just different global situations in general, I suppose. But specifically when it comes down to Israel, Mr. Heavy Duty Country here is very Christian, which is great. I would consider myself to also be a Christian. Spent a lot of time in church, spent a lot of time reading the Bible, spent a lot of time in, Bible groups, stuff like that. But he shows an extreme bias against the Jews, and it feels like it's coming from his place of Christianity, which is, it's a tough accusation to make, but when he goes in and he talks about the Israelis' religious texts and some of the stuff that they say, there's a lot of things that could be said about the Old Testament, the New Testament as well, that aren't very pretty. They're not very politically correct. They're not they're not, I guess, very politically correct. So when I watch Heavy Duty Country and he starts talking about Israel, I start seeing this it starts to feel like more of like a Christian versus a Jews situation, which I think is totally not what's happening at all. And kind of jumping on this bandwagon that just seems to be everywhere. It's kind of a cancer in my opinion. But everybody jumping on this bandwagon of it's the Jews' fault. The Republicans, when they're in trouble, they blame the Jews. When the Democrats are in trouble, they blame the Jews. Actually, we just saw the election for the new president in Colombia. The president who's been in power lost, and a new guy is taking power now. And the old president said that there was influence from the Israeli government, and that's why he lost. Which, which could be true. Who knows? But the bottom line is, everybody. It's a meme at this point. Everybody loves to blame the Jews. And when I see this guy come on and he makes this, when he talks about Israel, he makes it kind of a Jew versus Christian thing. I think that is it's dangerous rhetoric in the sense that it's just not accurate. It's not a Jews and a Christian thing. It's your opinion versus our foreign policy relations with Israel, the U.S. and Israel. Has nothing to do with Jews and Christians. So that's my opinion. Again, this isn't at all me dogging on this dude. I don't know him from Adam or anything like that, and I still watch his videos often. So, and I doubt he'll see this video or anything like that. But the whole point I wanted to make is kind of share my perspective on the situation, because this is something we talk about a lot on my channel. We talk a lot about conflicts in general, but specifically lately, Iran, Israel, the USA. And there's certain aspects I agree with that he's saying, but I would say overall, when it comes to foreign conflicts, I'm on the opposite page as this guy with Ukraine and Russia, Israel and Iran, U.S. and Iran. I'm a, as I heard somebody in the news say during an interview, I am a kill the terrorist type of guy. I believe terrorists should be dead. Terrorists should die. People who killed Americans should die. Point blank, period. That's it. If they hide behind civilians in their local population, it's terrible. It's awful. Civilian deaths should be mitigated, right? Always. But if they can't be, we got to still kill the terrorists, and the blame falls on the terrorists hiding behind the civilians, not on the people trying to eliminate the terrorists. That's what I think. Now let me know in the comments. You guys blow it up, please. I know we're gonna scrap down there in the comments, because in the comment section in the past, I've noticed about a 50-50 split. People who agree with more my perspective and people who agree with this guy's perspective. So let me know. Anyways, I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.